If you thought space wars were the stuff of science fiction, think again. Elon Musk recently accused China and Russia of targeting his Starlink satellites in a series of deliberate attacks. These aggressive actions follow a pattern of ongoing cyberattacks by Russia, now seemingly reinforced by a partnership with China. As the world watches to see how Musk responds, one thing is clear: we're witnessing a pivotal moment in history. But how did we get here, and what does this mean for the future? Join us as we unpack the recent attack on Starlink. The cyber attack occurred during the first week of November 2024. SpaceX engineers noticed something unusual. One of their Starlink satellites covering Eastern Europe had unexpectedly gone offline. There was no warning, and the initial investigations offered no clear explanation. After hours of troubleshooting, the team discovered something alarming. Contrary to their initial theories, it wasn't caused by signal interference from other satellites or orbital decay. Instead, they uncovered evidence of a sophisticated, targeted attack. One orchestrated by some of the most advanced adversaries SpaceX had ever encountered. Hackers had somehow uncovered vulnerabilities in the satellite control systems, giving them potential access to all 6,000 satellites. Upon further investigation, it was revealed that the perpetrators were based in Russia. However, what stood out most wasn't their origin, but their use of cutting-edge technology. The methods employed to breach the satellite systems went far beyond what an average tech enthusiast could manage from their basement. Such an operation required sophisticated equipment, including multiple large cell towers and satellite dishes specifically designed to target Starlink. This made it clear that the attack wasn't the work of ordinary individuals looking for free internet access, but rather authorized operatives working under legal authorities. Recognizing the imminent risk of losing control over his satellites, Elon Musk took decisive action. He ordered the shutdown of all satellites covering Eastern Europe, ensuring they remained offline until his engineers could fix the vulnerabilities and regain control of the compromised systems. Fortunately, the team resolved the issue within a few hours. However, the incident caused widespread network outages, leading to significant backlash from frustrated users on social media. This marked the first direct hostile attack on Musk's property, leaving him both alarmed and deeply offended by the breach. During a meeting with Defense Department officials and other trusted global authorities, Musk accused China and Russia of targeting his satellites, calling their actions reckless and a direct threat to civilian infrastructure. The Defense Department agreed, collaborating with Musk to bolster Starlink cyber defenses and prevent future attacks. Now, as Russia prepares for its next move, the world watches intently. To understand what lies ahead, we must first delve into the history of Russia's enduring cyber conflict with Starlink and the reasons behind this alleged digital standoff. On November 15, 2021, Russia conducted a controversial missile test aimed specifically at destroying a satellite. Although presented as a test, it was anything but routine. This demonstration was a calculated display of military prowess, sending a clear message that Russia was prepared to escalate its capabilities into space warfare if necessary. For this test, Russia targeted Cosmos 48, an old decommissioned satellite. Using a custom-designed ASAT, anti-satellite missile, they struck a target orbiting just under 500 kilometers above Earth's surface. In a dramatic display, the missile obliterated the satellite, reducing it to thousands of fragments. While the operation was hailed as a technical success domestically, the consequences were far-reaching and hazardous. The impact generated nearly 2,000 trackable pieces of orbital debris, along with an estimated 3,000 smaller fragments too minute to track with even the most advanced systems. The fallout soon posed a serious threat to the International Space Station, ISS. The station's crew had to seek shelter in designated safe zones as the debris cloud, composed of fragments from the destroyed Cosmos satellite, drifted dangerously close. This dense, fast-moving debris threatened to collide with anything in its path. The international community swiftly condemned the test, calling it a reckless act that endangered all personnel and assets operating in space at the time. In the coming years, the ever-growing cloud of space debris became a significant concern for those involved in space exploration. For them, space was intended to be a safe environment for research and discovery, not a battleground for destructive weapons. Several authorities weighed in on the matter, including U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who criticized the Russian test as highly irresponsible. He pointed out that while the ISS might have survived, smaller satellites and equipment from other nations were vulnerable. U.S. Space Command General James Dickinson also expressed his concerns, noting that Russia's reckless actions were putting many space missions at risk. Many prominent figures in the industry voiced their opinions, but perhaps the most well-known was Elon Musk. At that time, Musk was working on expanding his global Starlink satellite network, but the situation was only beginning to unfold. The key turning point came shortly after Russia's invasion in early 2022. Many officials from the embattled nation requested that SpaceX activate Starlink in their country, as their communication networks had been destroyed by the invaders. Elon Musk was alerted to the situation and agreed to assist. Within days, thousands of Starlink units were delivered to the country, providing vital communication tools to both civilians and government officials, though their use was initially limited to certain areas. 6 months later, they contacted Elon again, urgently asking him to extend Starlink services to other regions in the country, particularly Crimea, as this would enable them to launch a direct assault against the invaders who had taken control of the area. To their surprise and dismay, Elon immediately declined, explaining that he didn't want SpaceX to become too entangled in the ongoing conflict. Contrary to their assumptions, Elon wasn't taking sides to that extent. Some even speculated that the only reason he hadn't made his services available to the invaders was due to U.S. sanctions. To them, Elon appeared to be simply a businessman focused on selling his products and nothing more. Despite being upfront about his stance from the beginning, his decision sparked a wave of criticism on social media. It was undoubtedly a challenging time for the tech billionaire, but he held his ground, confident that the controversy would eventually blow over, as many others had before. Simply put, he wanted to avoid further trouble. Unfortunately, that wish would soon turn into an irony, as the invaders set their sights on him for an all-out cyber attack. On February 24, 2022, it was an exciting day for SpaceX engineers. Efforts were ramping up for the Transporter 5 mission, and the long-awaited launch of the Falcon 9 rocket, which promised to revolutionize space exploration, had everyone buzzing with anticipation. However, that excitement quickly turned into pressure and unease when one of the engineers received an unusual report. A complaint had come through the customer service department, revealing that soldiers in Ukraine were experiencing constant signal issues. After investigation, it was discovered that the Starlink signals reaching Ukraine were being jammed by powerful interference. It was clear that the invaders were responsible, deliberately blocking communications to hinder the opposing soldiers' ability to coordinate and share information. This disruption was first noticed along the northern front line, where the invading forces were advancing. A preliminary study conducted by SpaceX engineers revealed that the invaders were launching cyberattacks against Starlink, aiming to disrupt the internet service in that region. This was their first attack, but it was clear more were on the way. In response, Elon and his team implemented countermeasures to block the interference, assuming it would be a one-time event. However, the Russian forces were only beginning, and soon their troops began securing their own Starlink terminals, purchased through illegal means. In retaliation, Elon ordered SpaceX engineers to prevent the invading forces and the territories they controlled from accessing the internet. It was a strategic move, but the conflict was far from over. The invaders escalated their efforts by deploying more advanced electronic tools to make Starlink inoperable in areas they hadn't occupied. These tools, powered by high-frequency radio signals from vehicles linked to large radio towers, caused significant outages that lasted for hours and affected vast areas. At this point, the situation had become a tense back and forth between SpaceX and the Russian hackers. Each time SpaceX fixed one issue, another would arise within minutes, leading to extended periods of network outages. It felt as if Starlink had been entirely disabled in certain regions. Further reports indicated that the invaders had also begun using armed drones to jam the internet wherever they could detect even the faintest signal.